All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. Joined with me is Geno Reynolds from The Real Geno. And tonight we're going to be discussing the movie we just watched on Amazon, Guns Akimbo, starring Daniel Radcliffe. If you're wondering where my skydiving video is, that is getting edited tomorrow. I've had a lot of issues internally with how I was going to present that video and time. But that's coming tomorrow as well. So, Gino, you just joined our first watch party watching this movie. What do you think? Initial reaction.
My initial reaction. See, I was expecting pretty much what we got. There was a couple things I wasn't a big fan of, but it was nothing that ruined the experience for me. I was looking at the Rotten Tomatoes during the movie, and it's gotten a lot of hate. Critics was 53, average score for audience was 40. That being said, there's not a lot of reviews there, so it isn't really much of a gauge for it. I mean, I think there's only like 5 viewer reviews on there again, because no one really could see this. I think I was telling you before that before we watched the movie, even that it only showed up around me like once in a theater, and I couldn't go, and then it was out of the theaters, and then it was on video on demand, and I didn't get a chance to watch, and then it showed up on Amazon. I was glad I didn't have to pay for it. So
yeah,
definitely
benefits.
Yeah, I initially
benefits from not having to get paid for it. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I got pretty much what I was expecting. I was hoping it would be fun. It was fun. I knew it wasn't going to make any sense. I mean, you could throw reality out the window. I mean, I know a lot of people were mentioning the chat sound. I think you mentioned it. Look, it's like a video game. It's what I was expecting it to be, and I had a good time. So I was happy with it. I'm not gonna call it this fantastic, amazing movie. Like, I mean, it was definitely full of cliches, like all throughout. But if you're having a good time, then that's fine. The movie gave me what I was expecting it to give me for the most part. So I was happy with it.
Yeah, and with Radcliffe's, really separating himself with Harry Potter with his career choices with Swiss Army Man, Jungle, What If, Horns, Victor Frankenstein, he's done a lot. And then Samara Weaving, her career is already off to this crazy start too, where she's not doing a lot of things that you'd even expect her to do. She's not making like these huge blockbuster movies. She's making a really interesting choices with movies like Mayhem, Ready or Not, The Babysitter. She's going to be in Bill and Ted 3. And otherwise, those are like the only two real, like recognizable actors. Rhys Darby, they must have had him for just a day, where they just gave him the one scene, and then they said, "We're going to need you for some reaction shots." And I mean, he owned that one scene. I loved it. And then there's like the one cop was the lead actor on a sci-fi show called Defiance, the one who played Samara Weaving's dad. But everybody else was pretty unknown. And in fact, like the director, Jason Lee Howden, I never heard of him before, but his background is visual effects. And he's worked on Legion, The Avengers, War for the Planet of the Apes, The Wolverine, Man of Steel, all the Hobbit movies. So I can see where his influence, like whenever you see a guy like that make a movie, it's usually like if a stunt man makes a movie, it's usually a very stunt heavy movie. And in this, it's visual effects. He was using a lot of digital effects. He also wrote a movie called Deathgasm, which I have not seen. So
I would have that one.
Yeah, he wrote that.
I don't remember much about it, but I know I've seen it.
Yeah, and you can just definitely tell those influences here. It felt like a video game. It felt like a music video. I mean, it basically gave me what I thought it was going to be too. And I'm glad that it wasn't It was something that I could finally just shut my brain off. And I don't like
Yeah.
usually doing that. I have a hard time doing that. But with this, I just went, fuck it. It doesn't matter. All this is ridiculous. You can do instead, no rules. There's really no rules.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in this world, and if this was in a realistic world, this schism thing would be shut down like so fast. This is absolutely video game rules. Where an underground hacker fight club would be able to exist. Um, I thought that that was all just really fun. It's yeah, cliched up the wazoo. I thought a lot of except for Samara and Daniel and Rise, the acting was all pretty awful. It was pretty awful across the board. Thankfully, nobody really had that much screen time except for the tattooed guy, who was also he was in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I did not know that, but I don't know who he was. Um, but otherwise, I'm not surprised that this went under the radar. I'm not surprised that it's got the score that it has. I don't think it's as low. It deserves to be as low as it is. Um, especially with audience score. That one really surprises me. And I don't know what they were expecting when they saw the trailer for it. But like you said, there's not a lot of reviews out there.
Yeah.
Even when I looked it up on YouTube, there wasn't a lot of reviews out there. So I don't, and even from the bigger guys, I would have expected. I think Brad reviewed it.
Yeah, I think he did.
But I don't think like guys like Chris Stuckman or Jeremy Johns or anybody like that ever like took a look at this. I don't think they have. I think that especially Stuckman. I think Stuckman would love this movie, at least its visual style and its like gore and its horror parts of it, because this movie did not spare in that kind of aspect. In fact, it gave me some things that I did not expect it to do as far as violence wise and violence to the characters at all. What did you think about the over the top violence in this?
I think it helped this movie a lot because I mean, could you imagine something like this trying to be like a PG-13 and how bad it would be? With all the over the top violence, I think really just helped amp the fun factor of it, the ridiculousness of it. Just all the blood splatter. I mean, all the just everything that happened. If it wouldn't have been in there, I think this movie might have been kind of boring. If this was just kind of like a PG-13 shoot 'em up. So having all the ridiculous violence and just ridiculous characters, and I mean, like the villain was so ridiculous, just the way he talked and acted, but he was just getting you to a point where you wanted to see him die. That was his goal, make you hate him enough so you want to see him die. And so there's that. But yeah, if this didn't have all the blood splatter and all the cursing and everything else, this movie would not have worked because it needed all that just to amp up the fun factor. And I don't think it would have been enjoyable without all of that stuff.
I thought one of the fun aspects was that constantly trying to figure out how he would navigate this world with guns bolted to his hands. They didn't. They really went and above and beyond, showing all the hard ways that would be hard. And Radcliffe, I got to give it up to him for really going for it here.
Well, see, that's why I like what he's doing right now. I mean, we were talking before about how he probably just wanted to get away from like big Hollywood movies after Harry Potter. I mean, there's 8 of them. So he wanted to do just weird, different stuff. And stuff like this and some of the other movies you mentioned, just weird, different stuff. And he's just, as an actor, he's just like, screw it. I'm just going to give my all to whatever it is. And I'm going to have a good time. And I will say he was doing oddly well going to the bathroom before the phone rang or whatever it was that happened. It's like, yeah, you're doing awfully well with 2 guns for your hands aiming there, buddy. But, so I thought that was kind of funny, and then it started to look like what it would look like if you were trying to do that with guns in his hands, when the phone rang. But yeah, it was kind of neat watching him trying to navigate. Okay, can I open a car door? Can I open this door? Can I answer a phone? Can I put on pants? I was just like, I was wondering how he was going to do a lot of this stuff, and the movie answered a lot of those questions, which I thought was pretty cool.
And speaking of going for it, Samara Weaving really went for it here, and I think we both agree she was the best character in this movie.
Yeah. And I hated seeing her die, though. I knew it was going to happen, but I hated seeing it.
Yeah, like I said, she's making these really interesting choices, and then, sorry, I had a little voice off screen here telling me something. That she could be, like we're used to seeing her as the hero, and this we got to see her as a character that seemed one-dimensional, and then had a backstory. Not much. They kind of just really threw it at us and said she's not just a bad person. She's not just some crazy person. They gave us enough of it, but then she elevated it all to a different level that elevates the movie, and that's another reason why I feel like the score doesn't deserve to be as low, because if people were more familiar with her, I think that and were more on her side watching this like we were, I think that the score would, and I think it probably will go up. I think as the longer that this movie's around, I think the more people that do find it and the more people who start liking her, this movie will become like more of a cult classic than kind of a panned movie that not a lot of people saw. What did you think of her in this movie?
No, I thought she was great. I mean, I mentioned in the comments she was my favorite character, and then she blew away the boss, and then she was definitely my favorite character because I was wanting to see. I didn't think they were going to let Daniel Radcliffe kill off that character. Having her blow away that character was great. I mean, that character reminded me of the boss from Wanted. I was expecting Radcliffe to pick up a keyboard and smack him across the face, and the letters fly. Spelling out F-U. But having her waste that guy was great. Just her in this in general, they just let her just do whatever she wanted. You could tell she was just having a good time playing that part, just saying ridiculous things, killing people in ridiculous ways. She was definitely by far the best part of the movie. No doubt about it. I mean, Radcliffe was good. She was by far the better part. That's not putting Radcliffe down, but
no.
Yeah, she stole the show big time for me.
Yeah, when they took her fingers off, I was like, oh my God, she's not going to make it out of this movie. And I actually thought, that they would kind of, I would have loved to have seen them both get to take on schisms around the world together. I feel like that was, it was a little disappointing on that level. One of the things I didn't really like, and it kind of was making me nauseous, was the camera work and the editing. It was all over the place and looping around, and not even video games do that. And again, this guy is not a seasoned director. And whoever his cinematographer was, I don't know. I'd have been like going, you want me to do what? It felt real ADD, and that camera just couldn't sit still for very long. And early on, especially, it got better as it went along, but early in the movie, I really had a hard time kind of watching it, just because it was just jumping around and spinning around so much.
Yeah. When they're doing camera shots from his slippers, whenever he was running, that was one of the shots I remember seeing. Yeah, it was a little much. I wasn't bothered by it after a while, but I can see where you're coming from there. It was definitely, it's not even like something they do in games. It was just very fast paced. We have to change the shot. It was definitely a better movie when it slowed down a little bit on some of that stuff, but because they did have their scenes where they finally would slow down for a little bit and you could breathe for a second. But yeah, it was definitely, the editing was definitely a little messy, but again, it was something I expected from this. I don't know why, maybe from the trailer, but I was expecting some cuts and things like that and some weird camera shots, a little too much maybe, but it was expected. I was expecting it.
And I guess the soundtrack, everybody seemed to really dig the soundtrack. We had just done Overlord, which everybody seemed to pretty much, but then at the end of that movie, all of a sudden the music choice just took everybody out of the movie. But in
Yeah,
this, I think that they did a lot of. It made me think I was watching this. This whole movie actually made me think I was watching something from the '90s. This felt
yeah,
like a very '90s type movie, especially with the soundtrack and very techno heavy, and even songs that weren't originally techno were made more like dubstep
right.
and stuff like that. That I thought was really fun and elevated a lot of the excitement to scenes that might not be as interesting without the soundtrack. I'd be interested in even picking up this soundtrack somewhere, just to have on my computer. Did you like the soundtrack as much as everybody else seemed to?
I did. This is just me joking a little bit. When Cypress Hill popped up,
Yeah.
I was expecting How I Could Just Kill a Man. I think that would have been a better choice, but
Yeah.
I was still happy to hear Cypress. I like Cypress Hill, so I was happy to hear them on that. But yeah, the whole soundtrack, it really just kept you in the movie. It made this. It just brought you into a lot of the scenes. It was a lot of fun. I definitely dug the whole soundtrack, the score, the
Yeah.
soundtrack, everything. I loved it.
And this is where I nerd out. Like I get a little nitpicky. Is like during the speaking of the Cypress Hill song, I was like watching Rise Darby do the "When the shit goes down, you better be ready." He goes, "You better be ready." And I went, "That's not what it is, though. It's when the shit goes down, not when you." And so it's like I don't think that he actually even knew the song. I think they probably just said, "Here's a part of the song, do it." And I know it's a nitpick. It just bugged me for a second. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. If I Could Just Kill a Man would have definitely worked probably better. Um, and let's see, yeah, a franchise. I think the last thing I really have is a franchise question mark. Now,
Yeah.
this movie probably didn't do that well, right? Didn't do that well, but that hasn't always stopped smaller movies from continuing on.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, think about this. I mean, we've already got an actor that will do whatever projects he wants. So if he wants to make another one, why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
If they would be like, "Oh, we'll get a few more people for you to go up against, and you go after him." Or he could just wanted one of those kind of endings. I mean, the writer could have just, well, we could leave it open if we really want to make something. But I could see Daniel Radcliffe doing one of these that goes straight to Amazon or something like that. Why not? I mean, he's doing all these other weird movies. Why not? Especially if he had a good time doing this, which it looks like he had a good time with this movie. So, I mean, granted, we won't get Samara Weaving again unless she has a twin sister out there. Oh wait, she blew up in the car. Um, you know, but I could see him doing another one of these, just because of some of the choices he's made already. Now, some actors might see this movie as a failure, right? They would do this movie and be like, "Oh, it didn't do very well. I wouldn't want to go near it again." But he seems like type of actor. He's probably still making money off of Harry Potter, and he can do whatever the hell he wants. So if he wants to make another Guns Akimbo, why the hell not?
yeah, and especially when you've got like what 6 or 7 Sharknadoes, and they don't seem to have a hard time finding people to be in those movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, they can't be making that much. I mean, I guess they probably are making a decent amount of money, but with the same kind of budget, and you don't have to get like this movie showed, you didn't have to have a lot of stars.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of B-list, C-list, D-list actors to be in movies like this because they'll just be happy for the opportunity. And if you get Daniel
Yeah.
Radcliffe, who, like you said, does not mind just living off the royalties of Harry Potter and just making whatever the hell he wants, then yeah, I don't see why this couldn't be Daniel Radcliffe's John Wick.
Why
Like this
not?
could
Yeah.
be his little, 2 or 3 of these, where he just, each one gets a little bit bigger and a little more fun, and they don't have to. They could still film wherever, and film in Canada. This looked like it was filmed in Canada,
Mm.
and in Canada they can make that place look like anything. The X-Files once made a pit look like the Arizona desert. And so anything is possible with magic of movies. And that was in the '90s. They can probably do a lot better even now. So
Yeah.
I would definitely watch more of these. I mean, would I would I go pay full price for one of these? Probably not. If it was like a streaming movie, like you said, like picked up by Amazon or Netflix or whoever, I definitely think that I would watch more of these for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that seems to be, if they're going to make another one, it seems to be its destiny. I mean, this movie was never going to do really well in theaters. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe, I mean, yeah, he was Harry Potter, but he's chosen, I mean, granted, I don't think he cares. He's chosen a career of not being in mainstream movies. He's been in a few since Harry Potter, but the rest have been like indie films and straight to DVD films, or straight to streaming. And I don't think he cares. He's just wanting to have a good time and act. And again, if he wants to make another one of these, he probably will.
Yeah. So basically, my final thoughts then are basically, um, I think with the state of the world right now and the lack of movies in theaters, I think the future of a lot of movies is going to be streaming. Like if you make your movie, you don't have to make, the next Marvel movie, the next Star Wars movie. You just need to make something that somebody will pick up for streaming. And with the lack of, Netflix buys everything. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter the quality. Netflix basically picks up everything, and everybody is I think, gonna be falling over each other to find things like this that people will want to watch. So I hope that this movie has more life. If it doesn't, it was a fun romp where you could literally just turn your brain off. And I mean, with the video game crowd, this movie should start doing better as hopefully if word of mouth gets out.
Yeah.
Because this had made me think of like Watch Dogs 2. It made me think a couple of times like of even Max Payne. Like there was that scene at the end where he's jumping slow motion with his guns, and I was like, oh man, that's a Max Payne shot if I ever saw one. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts. This is probably like a B minus C plus movie, but elevated a little bit because of the actors involved, and it's fast and over, and you get what you want. It's not going to win any awards, but I think that this guy could prove to be, like if he improves his craft a little bit, this Howden director could become something a little more special than he is right now. But I mean, heck, I don't direct anything, so what do I know? But yeah, oh yeah, and I was thinking the same thing Desiree is saying. R-rated Scott Pilgrim, especially at the end. Especially at the end when he had that scene where, and I actually missed talking about that, is the scene where you think he's okay.
Yeah.
And it's all colors and rainbows, and then they cut to him dying in the stark cold. Like I love that choice of not giving us that just perfect happy ending. That they made us think that. And again, that helped a lot. So what are your final thoughts?
When it comes to the ending, honestly, okay, whenever they gave the fake out of killing the ex-girlfriend, I kind of wish they wouldn't have done the fake out. I would have rather seen a revenge versus a rescue whenever for his motivation, because either way he would have went after the guy. And granted, at least they didn't end up together, because I thought that would have been stupid. That would have been just one too many cliches, I think, if they would have ended up together. So the fake out was fine. I normally don't like fake outs like that unless they're done well, and I thought this movie did it well. I like the ending a lot, especially if we get another one. But yeah, I could definitely see this being like an R-rated Scott Pilgrim type movie, especially when it comes to it being a cult classic, because you never know when people are going to discover this. Now that they can see it on Amazon and not have to pay anything for it, they're probably willing to give it a chance. Especially since it's got Daniel Radcliffe in it. So, and then of course, Samara Weaving, after Ready or Not, her stock is up. So who knows? People might finally just discover it and see it. And who knows, maybe it'll get some legs and they'll make another one, or it'll at least become some kind of a cult classic. So yeah, I dug it. And I was glad I finally got to watch it. Part of me is like, why didn't I watch it sooner? Oh yeah, I still probably wouldn't have wanted to pay for it. I was glad it was on Amazon, so I wouldn't have to.
All right, so that's definitely a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I
Not
definitely
not
recommend it.
not if you got to pay for it. I mean, if you've got Amazon, it's a recommendation.
Yeah.
I or you can get it for like $2 at a video store or something, for a rental. But other than that, I mean, I wouldn't want to pay like the premium streaming price of like $7 or $8 for it. But if you've got Amazon, heck yeah, watch it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend going to buy the Blu-ray right away unless it was like a cheap Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe like a $7.99 to $10 Blu-ray. And if it had like some decent like making of kind of things, that would be a seller too. But yeah, if you don't have to pay for it, definitely more of a recommend. It might be something that I buy later down the road, especially if I see it for super cheap and like the $5 bin at Walmart
Right.
or something like that. So I mean that makes it sound like we don't really like it, but I mean it is what it is, right? So
Well, I
anyway,
mean, there's nothing wrong with saying a movie should be just a cheaper buy. I mean, I don't like paying $20 for a Blu-ray that I love, you know. So, I mean, and I really enjoyed this movie, but I'm not going to say it was better than like all these movies I love. It's a fun time and I enjoyed it, but it doesn't mean I want to pay $20 full price for it.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying I would buy it in a bargain bin, though. It's actually a compliment because trust me, there's plenty of crap in a bargain bin that you wouldn't touch.
Oh
So,
yeah.
this one, if I saw it in a bargain bin, sure, why not? It would be a fun buy.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun doing this. I'm glad that we finally got together and was able to do one of these. I know I want to do more of these with you.
Of
I
course.
don't know, like we're gonna try to figure out the scheduling and all that, and try to find some more interesting movies that either both of us haven't seen or the crowd hasn't seen. I'm gonna do more work on that. Um, do you want to tell everybody, especially since for the people that aren't watching this live, where they can find you?
You can find me at The Real Geno. You can see it there on your screen, REELGENO, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. Again, I hope we get to do more of these in the future. I thought it was pretty successful. The chat, of course, in the actual watch party is always very, very lively with Devra, Desiree, Bill, Rena, all of us just having so much to say. It's never a boring time, even with just a few people. Yeah, and everybody knows me where you can find me because this is where I am.
Because you're here.
On my channel, or on Twitter at reviews_gun, or on Twitch playing Ghost of Tsushima at Smirking Gun Plays. And so, yeah, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying thanks for watching. Look out for the skydiving video tomorrow. Hell or High Water, we're doing it. And we'll probably throw in that Point Break review somewhere in there as well, because I did watch it. I just didn't get to talk about it in the sky because they cheated me out of it. But that's the story for that video. So this is Rob saying have a great night, and we will see you guys on the next video. Bye.
Bye.